Hello, this is David William Weissner, and this is another episode of David Speaks. In this episode, I'm going to talk to you about my college days at College of Staten Island, which is part of the City University of New York. Before I went to college, I was quite ill with bipolar disorder from like 19 to 24, 25. And I went through all kinds of things up and down with, as I spoke on the last things, on the last as I spoke on the last episodes about manic depression and the horror it brought to me. Then I met a great doctor. My mother found it for me. Him for me. Okay, and he was a great doctor. He introduced lithium into the use of bipolar patients, and he's written a few books. It was very expensive. He had an office in Columbia Presbyterian Hospital and on Park Avenue. All right, so this doctor changed all my medications, and it completely changed me. It put me on Prozac, put me on Depakote, Mellarol at the time, and completely changed me. I got back to myself. After 6 years of spiraling back and forth with bipolar, I was finally free to be myself. I felt like me again. So the first thing I decided to do was enroll in college in Staten Island, and I lived in my mother's house. College was a great experience for me. Honestly, it was the best time of my life. I loved to read. I loved to study. I wasn't a great student in high school because it's just my hours are weird. I like to be up all night. I hated getting up. I just blew it off. I was rebellious. I was 25 when I went back to college. Okay. And I had the time of my life. I was never more happy than I was sitting in those lecture halls listening to those wonderful, brilliant professors speak. I love studying. I love reading like I always did. I was a voracious reader my whole life. And now I was studying the things I wanted to study. I never took a course before 12:20. And that was fine. It worked with my hours. I was able to sleep late. Really was never late, never missed a class. I loved it. It was the best time of my life. I didn't know what I wanted to study. I just took liberal arts classes. And then I took a sociology class with a very eccentric teacher. And it really changed my life. I don't remember her name. I wouldn't give you her name. But I just learned so much about the whole world, the whole planet, what people go through, how fortunate we are to live in America and in the West where this food is plentiful for most people. And it just taught me so much. So I decided to major in sociology. And I took some anthropology courses. I took 50 credits in my major, sociology. My GPA was 3.93 or 3.97 in my major. I don't know, one person gave me an A minus. I was probably pissed off. I loved writing those papers. I loved studying. I loved it all. And I lived at home. I had a really fun social life in the college, and especially senior year. I was going out with a woman for many years, and then I met another woman, probably the love of my life, the other woman. Not that I didn't love the other woman, the first woman. Let's call. I need names. Let's call the first woman Tessa, the one I was with a long time, and the second woman, as I call her in my book, Maria. Okay, and so Tessa and Maria. So Tessa I had been going out with on and off for years. We were friends. We weren't friends. We were friends. We were going out. We were boyfriend and girlfriend. We were lovers. We'd break up. We'd be friends with benefits for years. I would date other people. Senior year of college, and she was 5 years younger than me, Tessa. Maria was 3 years older than me, and she was so beautiful. She was a Puerto Rican beauty. She was like 5 feet, 100 pounds, the most perfect face, eyes, body. Her eyes were like, I've never seen eyes like that. Some nights, they still haunt me. Those eyes were so beautiful. I wept sometimes just looking down at her and talking to her. That was how beautiful this woman was. And she wasn't just beautiful in her face and body, it was in her soul. She was the most romantic woman I've ever met. She wrote for my birthday, she wrote me a poem and had it printed out and I don't know, in beautiful paper and put it under plastic. We had such a great relationship. And I met her when I was tutoring in the summer immersion program, English immersion program, in the summer at the College of Staten Island. I worked there for one summer as a tutor of English. And that was an interesting job. They put me in a class. I was supposed to go around with a professor and check on people's English because I'm a good writer and I had high marks. And so it was a good job for the summer. But the first person I met in that class was Maria. And she was dressed down. She was dressed just kind of big shorts. It was the summer, big shorts, big shirt. Didn't show off her form. I don't think she had makeup on, but something drew me to her. And the first thing I did is went to her. All the kids wrote essays, and I kind of hung out. And I was supposed to go around and check everybody's essays. So I checked hers first. And I think I sat there for 40 minutes just gazing into her eyes and checking her essay. And the other kids were like, what the hell? What's this guy's tutor for all of us? But eventually I got to the other kids. She wasn't a kid. They were all like 18 years old. It was a class for people who had failed the assessment test and wanted to come into the school. And it was an assessment test you had to take to be proficient in English or math. And I was good at English. So then, like after the class or even in the halftime, or whatever they call it, the break, I went out and I was hanging out with all the kids, and Maria was there, and I just started talking to her. And I said to her, I don't know, I just liked her. And I said, do you want to get a cup of coffee sometime? And she said, that'd be great, David. And so I got her number, and we went out. We talked for a couple times on the phone. We went out. I don't remember what day it was. It could have been a Friday night. We just went to a diner to get coffee on Victory Boulevard in Staten Island. And I don't know, we just hit it off. We had so much to talk about, and she was so sweet. She had kind of an accent, but an accent like I've never heard. She grew up in different places. I don't know. And we had fun. And then I think we ended up eating, and I had my favorite, which is grilled cheese and French onion soup, which I've had probably thousands of times in diners around the world, around Staten Island anyway. But I don't know. We just hit it off like magic. And then we went on a second date. I just asked her to go to the beach. And she was very careful and private. She wouldn't let me pick her up. Like, even the first date, we just met there. The second date, she drove to my house, and we took separate cars to the beach because she didn't know me yet. And I guess she didn't trust me. She didn't know who I was. We just started dating. Okay. She came to the house and was dressed quite differently. All of a sudden, she had on like hot pants or hot shorts, I don't know what they call them, and makeup. And I was blown away. I'm like, holy shit, this is who I'm dating? I can't believe it. She was totally hidden in those mopey clothes. So I'm like, no, I'm getting nervous. I'm like, oh my God, what did I step into here? So I couldn't believe how hot she was and beautiful when she got all dolled up. So we took separate cars to the beach, and we put out a blanket, and we just stayed there for hours. I don't think we had food. I don't know. We just stayed there for hours, watched the sun go down. It was a Great Hills Beach in Staten Island. And we just had fun. We had our first kiss there. And it was beautiful. And after that, we just became a couple. Now, I had to go tell Tessa something, uh, not about her specifically, but I had to tell Tessa something I had been wanting to tell her for a long time, and that is that I wanted to see other people. I didn't want to stop seeing Tessa. I wanted to continue with her and Maria. And I told Maria right from the beginning, I'm polyamorous. I'm not monogamous. I want to date. You're free to date anyone you want, and so am I. And she agreed to it. She did. And when I told Tessa, she understood. I'm sure she didn't like it after so many years of it just being me and her, on and off, on and off. But still, I saw both of them. So senior year of college, I had two girlfriends, two full-time girlfriends. Meaning my family knew them. I brought them home to the family. They went to family events, different ones. It was kind of difficult. I had to choose which one to see on Valentine's Day and my birthday, who to invite to my graduation party, to family things. It really was kind of challenging juggling them, but it worked out okay. All right. So Tessa was a wonderful woman in her own right. Really cute, adorable girl. And, when I met her, she was a virgin. And we went out for 3 months before we went all the way. Because she wanted to wait, and I understood that. I wasn't in a rush. And, she was young. She was 22. When we started dating, I was like 27, 26, something like that. And I'll tell you some stories about me and her, because we had a lot of fun and adventures. The first time we made love, I had candles written all around, not written, I had candles all around. And my mother was in the other room. It was my bedroom. I just locked the door. My mother and father, they didn't care. They were whatever, just keep it down, I guess. But we were always in there hanging out. So the first time we had sex, it was wonderful. It really was wonderful for both of us. Very magical. And then all the candles, she had long, dark, she was Italian. She had long, dark, beautiful, wavy hair. And she managed somehow to go back into a candle, and her whole head went up on fire. All her hair, she had products in her hair. Remember, she's a Staten Island girl. They used a lot of products. Well, they did. And whoosh, fire. Right in her hair. I was right behind her. So I put out the fire with my hands. And the room did smell like burned hair, as if you ever know that smell. It's quite distinct. But I put the fire out with my hands, and luckily she really didn't lose much hair, just a couple of ends and everything. But I don't know if she was kidding, but she said, she said, "Great, now God is mad at me because we're not married." And she was Italian Catholic, but I think it was a joke, I hope. And crazily, this is the girl who I'd go on to marry 12 years later. And it didn't work out, but that's for another story. I learned a lot of things from dating Tessa, from her parents especially her father. They were, they came from Italy. They were immigrants. They spoke fluent Italian. They spoke English perfectly. Very smart people. And the mother worked at a Catholic school. The father was a retired owner of a deli. He was a chef. He taught me a lot about cooking, about gardening. I used to sit for hours with him in his kitchen downstairs. He kind of was downstairs dude, and the mother was upstairs mom. And they kind of, I don't know. He was always downstairs cooking in the garden. Then we would eat downstairs on the table. I spent a lot of great holidays with him. I love Italian food. It's my favorite. I love home-cooked Italian food more than anything. He gave me a lot of lessons in cooking and gardening especially. And I learned a lot about gardening from him. And fig trees. The first fig I ever had was in Tessa's father's garden. He had all these trees he snuck in from Italy. They were amazing. I never tried a fig before in my life. And I fell in love with the fruit. I would pick them with him. I would just eat them off the trees all the time. These big green ones. He had the red ones too, the purple ones, but I like the green ones better. They were huge. They were like figs like this, like oranges. The man was a genius with garden. and a great cook, a great chef. So, I had a lot of fun that way. Me and Tessa got along great, you know. Um, we really did. You know, she was such a sweetheart. I fell in love, and more than anything, I fell in love with her heart. For the heart, I never saw a girl as kind as this, and I could hear it in her voice. We met in a sociology class in marriage called Sociology of Marriage and Family, which I guess is kind of ironic because I would eventually marry her one day. Um, so we got along great. I don't think we ever even had an argument in 12 years, no matter what, whether we were breaking up, which is always my fault, or just being friends, or being lovers and dating, whatever it was. We never fought, never had an argument. Everything was cool. I'm like that with most of the girls I've dated, or, it just, I don't know. Women calm me. They make me peaceful. And I'm not an arguer. I'm not a controller. I believe in live and let live, be free. I believe in egalitarianism. I consider myself a woman's liberator, meaning women can do anything they can do. Anything that a man can do. If they can do it, they can do it, whatever it is. So college was a great time. I got a degree in sociology and anthropology. It's a joint major. I made the dean's list one year. I was very proud of that degree because I did it under duress, meaning I was still bipolar. I was on medications, but I still had problems. Medications have a lot of side effects. They put on weight on me. I had these tactile hallucinations that would come every single spring and summer because I have seasonal affective disorder. Not so much now, but back then, when I was young, the seasons affected me very, very difficultly because I would use more medicine in the spring and summer, and then less in the winter and fall because I would get depressed in the winter and fall, and in the spring and summer, I would get manic. And I had these psychotic symptoms that even the medication was very hard. It was very hard to get rid of them. And I went to school with them. There were tactile hallucinations in my mind, in my head. So I would literally feel like a rock or a knife. I look at a knife, I feel it in my head, like the actual feeling of if you put a knife into your hand. That's what I felt. They were tactile hallucinations. This went on for years in the spring, every summer. And the doctor would raise the medication, the Melorol, would raise it from like 30 milligrams to 80. And that had some effects. It made it harder to come. It had a lot of effects I didn't like. Then I put some weight on in the winter. Then I'd have to back it up put some weight on when I was on the higher dose in the summer and spring. In the winter, I would diet like crazy when I was in the 30 milligrams of Melorol to try and lose whatever weight I had gained, 20, 30 pounds. It was a constant battle. Just because you're on medication doesn't mean you're well. It makes you sane, but you still got problems. Medication is difficult. A lot of problems come from it. Health problems. When I was on Risperdal, my triglycerides were up to 3,000. There should be 150. It's a miracle I didn't have pancreatitis, which you should have, or a heart attack or a stroke. 3,000 triglycerides, people, that is a lot. And that was on Risperdal, which was years later. But still, these old medications, they're not good. Depakote's not good for your kidneys or your liver. But understandably, I'd rather be sane and sick or fat than crazy or anything. I'd rather be dead than crazy. That is how bad bipolar disorder is. Okay? Now, college it was fun. I loved it. It wasn't easy. I studied really hard. I studied really hard, and Maria was a big part of my life for almost 2 years. We'll get back to her now. Maria was such a delicate soul, but she was strong. Like, even physically, she was strong. I said she was 5 foot, 100 pounds, and we would wrestle sometimes at night, and I couldn't pin her. And I'm pretty strong, and I couldn't pin her down. and she'd be like wrestling me. We had so much fun. I had so much fun with Maria. You can't believe it. It was so romantic, you know. And I would play her songs on my classical guitar. Her favorite was Spanish Romance, and we went to. You know, she got me to Spanish music. She would always play it on the radio. It was always these love songs, these romantic songs. It was just an amazing romance. You know, I would say she was the love of my life, Maria. And we just had so much fun, you know. And I don't know what to say. She was beautiful. I'll tell you this. In the end, we broke up for reasons because I think it was mostly because I wouldn't commit to one girl. It just wouldn't be fair to me. I didn't want one girl. You know, I mean, she didn't want threesomes with other girls, which I think is every guy's fantasy. And a lot of girls think about this. And we tried to find someone for a threesome, but we never could. And I was young. I didn't understand about strip bars really. If I was older, I would have just took to a strip bar and go in the back room, and I'm sure the strippers would have devoured her in every way, you know. And but I was young and innocent in my 20s, and we tried to find people, but it never happened. We broke up before. So I remember at first she said, you know, she wanted a commitment. And I was like, oh, God, why do I have to hide who I am? But I would never lie to the girl I dated then, and certainly not now. And I said, okay, I'll talk to Tessa and tell her that's it. I'm being monogamous with you. It's just you and me, Maria. So I went to Tessa's house one day after I promised Maria that I would. And, you know, she let me in. I walked up the stairs, and Tessa was in a white robe, terry cloth robe, and her long hair was all wet from the shower. And I guess I'm a weak man because that was it. That turned me on so much. We ended up having the craziest sex in her bed, in her twin bed in her mom's house. And I said, "This is bullshit. I'm not monogamous. This is crazy." So that was it. We just kept going, and I went back to Maria, and I guess I didn't tell her that I had sex with her that day. I told her I can't do it. I can't be monogamous. It's just not me. Okay, I don't think it's really for anybody either. I don't. I think monogamy is not reality. You know, not for human beings. Because everybody thinks about it in their mind, and not everybody cheats. Some people are very strong and don't cheat, but everybody has that in their mind that they want to do with other women or men. You know, and they don't admit it to themselves or to others. Everybody fantasizes about other people, even when we're in relationships, even when we're married. You know, don't lie to yourself. Everybody thinks about it, and a lot of people do it. You know, that's why marriage, you know, people in the United States, it's like a 60% divorce rate. And it's for a lot of reasons. But I just don't think it's natural to be with one person forever. Anyway, so I went back to Maria and told her. And I think she broke up with me then. You know, and I was heartbroken. I cried to my friend, my female friend. And I said, well, I lost her, but I have to be me. And then, and this, this may sound very shallow, but I was like, all right, I'll go back on the computer. I didn't, you know, whatever. I was on the computer the next day, and I met another girl, a very young hippie girl who lived in New Jersey. And we hung out for a few days, and I had sex with her, and she was really hot. I mean, she was like taller than me, really big chest, and just gorgeous, long hair. She was kind of a funny girl. I'll tell you, I don't know. She was a hippie. She wanted to go to California, but I saw her for a while, and she was like, I think she was 19. I was like 29, and I saw her for a while, and she said something funny to me. I just want to mention it because it's funny. I would play for her guitar and sing her songs, and she goes, what's all the fucking chick music? I'm like, aren't you a chick? I like love songs. I like playing this stuff. I don't know. She liked, what band was it? I don't know. Some, not even a hard edge band, just kind of like a jam band. She's like jam bands, like a lot of '60s girls. It didn't really last long with her, but anyway. So eventually, me and Elsie, we kept talking, and we got back together. And the hippie girl went to California, and went back to the same, just the same thing where I was seeing Tessa and Maria simultaneously. Uh, and then that went on for a while, and then Maria's dog died. Okay, and I don't know. She was so attached to this dog. It was her brother's dog who died of diabetes um, a few years ago, a few years before. The dog hated me. I mean, it was this little chihuahua, an old chihuahua. The dog would attack me every time I walked in the door. And I thought it was funny. I would run and jump on the couch, and the dog would be like, "Arr," and wanted to kill and eat me. But the dog was so little and old, he couldn't jump on the couch. And I would just get on the couch and go, you can't get me, you know. And she had to lock the dog up, but I do love animals, dogs and cats, and I really wasn't afraid of the dog. It was just kind of funny. The dog was mean. It was a mean dog to everyone but Elsie. So me and Liz went on for many years. Okay, for many years. Eventually, me and Maria broke up, and we stayed friends for a while. We stayed friends with benefits. We tried all these other things, but eventually she broke up with me, and it was over a strange thing. She knew I had an open relationship. I always told her this, and I was always honest. I never lied. I don't believe in lying. I believe in honesty, to a fault. Okay, and eventually Maria broke up with me completely when I told her I was still having sex with Tessa. I don't know why that bothered her. She knew I was having affairs with other girls, not even affairs, just relationships with other girls. But for some reason, the fact that it was my old girlfriend that I'd been with for years really affected her. And she said, you killed my heart. You killed my heart. And that's it. And I never saw her again. And, you know, it was very sad for me. Like I said, she was probably the love of my life. I wish I could go more into about with her. Maybe I will in another episode. She really was the most romantic, beautiful, amazing, stupendous, wonderful, adorable, fun, cute, sexy, sensual, amazing person I ever met. Just amazing. I think those eyes still haunt me. Those brown eyes. And she, I never saw her again. And I could talk about my future with Tessa another time. I don't know. That's it. That's it for tonight. Just love people. Love them well. Be honest. That's all I could say from that. All right. This is David William Weissner signing off. Good night.